Hi, this is Doug Ness and Micah Ness. We'd like to welcome you to the YouTube channel, The Wildernesses at Lake Clark, Alaska. For those of you who have ever dreamed about building a cabin in a remote place, or even in Alaska, or even just wanted to know what it was like to do that type of a lifestyle of building in a remote area, this story's for you. This is a story about a family in the last 13 years who had a dream and a vision to build a lodge in a remote place in Alaska, 170 miles southwest of Anchorage at the Lake Clark National Park. So we'll tell the story about what's happening now, what the lifestyle is like now, and then the journey. Come and join us for the journey of what it took to build a place in a remote Alaska. And to share the adventure of a family who worked together and shared their dream and vision, and just the beautiful things that come out of that.
This was 2003, or it actually started prior to that. And a friend of ours up in Alaska, he would come down to Idaho, and I was probably 12 or 13 or something like that, watching videos of Alaska. And there's a lot of people that have a vision to go to Alaska, but really it wasn't even on my radar. I mean, I'd heard about Alaska and knew. So after that year in 2007, the progression and what happened up there really began to take form, because after that year, we started having lots of our family up there. We actually didn't have our whole family up at one time until just this year. 2019 was actually the first year we had all of our family up there, plus the oldest two, their husbands came along as well, and also the grandkids got to experience. So that was quite the big culmination. But even before that, we started having different friends and people coming up to work and help and build. It was really we had a lot of hands to put together to help make it happen, because we did it over time, and we were living in it at the same time.
Yeah. and that's a key, and a lot of times we have a dream and a vision. We can't accomplish that at just one time, typically. Yeah. So what we did over the last 13 years is we started, and we've been working on this for 13 years. So it's a key is to have a vision, a dream for what you want to do, but then you need to stick with it. And so we kept, but we wanted to have the whole, part of the family, if not all the family, involved in this from the beginning. So we did it as we went along. So we just had we built the platform and did the foundation platform there in July. In the fall, Micah and another friend put the shell on the building, and then the next spring, now we started construction within the building. And no running water, no electricity, none of that stuff. And so, but my wife came along, and our outhouse was a log in the bush, okay? Now for you gals, that's a pretty big deal to start out that way. But, and I said you didn't have to do that, but we did. And then the progression of getting all the pieces put together with that. But we started and had our daughters were up there with us, so we started using it right away. It wasn't perfect, but it worked, so we could enjoy the adventure of a lifetime in the bush while we were building this building.
Yeah. And it was amazing to see also how quickly those things would change. One week we're using plastic and stuff on the walls to basically make barriers for rooms, and then we were sleeping in a tent outside. And then you see the progression very quickly, because all of a sudden now you have sheeting on the walls, and then you're able to get electrical run, and you start having outlets and plugging into a generator, and you start hooking up a few water things, and running. We had a little outside shower with a pallet on the ground with a little pump. You heat up a bucket of water and turn on the pump and pump up water for a shower. And then thankfully we did have one of our neighbors, a seasonal that comes up from the lower 48, and we ran hose connected to hose to connected to hose all the way over to them to run a little bit of power when we had the generator going, and just to have a little bit of water. And then we set up a pump in the lake, which actually we used for quite a while.
Quite a few years, because that's a glacier-fed lake. Lake Clark is 60 miles long and 4 or 5 miles wide and up to 1,000 feet deep. And glacier-fed, so we were drinking the water out of the lake. It was good. Yeah. and we had the wash machine sitting on the beach. So you do what you have to do till you don't have to. And but that was part of the progression, and we'll be sharing some of this over a period of time, how these pieces came together, which is sometimes kind of comical. But again, my hat's off to my wife. She loved to do that, and but the goal is to have comfortable place to live with hot and cold running water and this type of thing. So
and some heat is good too. And we got a stove in there and got you know, chopping wood for that too. And I mean, everything you have to, you know, go and get it or order it in, and it takes a long time. I mean, when we brought in the original materials, all that stuff came in on a plane, and that process has to start months in advance because you're getting the list and checking it twice and 3 times and over again, because once it goes on that plane, it's shipped out, and then it has to be staged in Anchorage, and then you load it up onto the plane, and then it lands in the town. Hopefully, if it gets on schedule, the weather's not bad, they unload it. They thankfully have larger equipment over in the small town, which is across the lake from our place, about 4 miles over water. So it lands in the town, you unload it, stage it on the beach, load it back onto either a boat or a barge, take it across the lake. Hopefully the lake is good and calm, you can bring it across. You unload it by hand because we don't have the heavy machinery over there. Even, I mean, from eye joists that are, you know, 26 foot long, and you're hauling them across by, you know, hand and bringing them up the beach. And thankfully had a 4-wheeler with a trailer that still was able to move stuff around.
It's quite a journey, and it was educational for us. I had a business down in Idaho, a restoration company, and my boys actually ran that for a while, so they learned some of the basic work skills and work ethics and habits that saw them through working up there. And because everything is very, very difficult to do, but it's really exciting, you know, everything you got to do in a boat or something like that. And again, we didn't have a phone service at that time or satellite or anything like that. So logistics are just unbelievable what you got to go through, and we'll be sharing a lot of this journey over a period of time and what it's like now. Because a lot has changed over 13 years from starting the lodge, and then even more than that before, when we, you know, started going up there and just learning about the place, and there was definitely a lot of different things that drew us to this location. It became definitely a second home for me as well early on from going up there. But the community is very supportive out there. It's a very unique community of the town of Port Allsworth across the lake from us. And a lot of people were there to support along the way, really good friends that became almost like family as well. And you really become connected, and yet at the same time you're disconnected because you're away from the hustle and everything of a normal town, and you have, you know, seasonal people that come and go across the lake for lodges and those kinds of things. And you know, being a part of that you know, community was a big part of it too. You know, there's a really active church and a camp that all of the young kids from the area come into every summer, and there's a lot of positive things that come out of this area. So it's just a lot of different aspects that drew us to be there and be a part of that. And that little town, that's a town, but that's a town where everything has to be flown into. So it's not a town like you think your neighborhood.
There's no store shelves that you can go buy stuff.
You can't buy anything there, but some guys have gas, so we can buy gas and gasoline and propane and fuel there. But there's no grocery store there. So it's a whole different world there, and then we're a whole world separate from them, which literally you can't drive to it. You got to take a boat, and hopefully the weather is calm, which you'll see in some of the videos. Gets pretty rough. You can't go any place.
Calm. We've had 6-7 foot waves out there, and it's
and you'll see some pretty interesting stuff hauling things across the lake in those conditions. But so we're actually a world away from a world, and even Port Allsworth is away from the whole world. It's a bush town, and so it's a different perception, and everything that you do, you have to get it figured out how to get it there. And that really adds an enjoyment, and you have to be safe, because you know there's no doctor where we're at. In Port Allsworth there is. At that time there wasn't. Early on, now just the last few years they've had a doctor. But still, you got to be able to get there, and if the weather isn't compatible, we can't get across the lake. You can't get there, and so you can't just go home for the weekend. We'll have some stories on how to just get there and get out of there. is quite a way of doing it too.
Yeah. So it's been quite the experience. So over the years, things began to change for me as well. Coming back to Idaho a little bit more here and there. Started working with my brother. We did another series of a podcast that talks a little bit more about that process. But my brother and I started a business down in Idaho doing video production and photography. So our roles kind of changed early on. I was living up there and being on the ground there locally, and then now we've kind of switched positions. Now my dad gets to be up there living his second childhood, as he likes to say, and has been building on that. And then my brother and I, and even our family, get to go up there as much as we can, a couple times throughout the year, and then traveling other places as well. So I love it anytime I get to be back up there for being at my second home. But then now he gets to continue that on and then share it with the rest of us. And he's been so passionate and putting so much work and effort into that place. It's really exciting to see something that started so many years ago and now is continuing on, that we can share with other people through this aspect online. That if you don't have an opportunity to go up to Alaska, you can watch what things take place and maybe get some inspiration for your own projects, or just taking on some other things that you want to do, building the remote, or maybe just getting enthralled about what that is really like. And there's opportunities to go to those places and to come up to Alaska, and there's a lot of different things that we want to be able to share through physically being there, and also online and through these through the YouTube channel and other places. So it's going to be a fun series and just a fun process of sharing what we've been able to do.
So we're still building the dream. This is a journey. It's not a destination. And this will continue on for generations in our family. Matter of fact, sometimes some of the most memorable things we've ever done in our whole life is not necessarily always in Alaska. It's back home in Idaho or Minnesota, where we grew up at, having a campfire in the backyard with the kids and talking stories and laughing. The finer things of life. We're going to talk about the finer things of life, and it all gets down to basics. We can do a lot of those things right where we're at. Things that'll last a lifetime of memories. And so come join us on this journey. So we want to thank you for watching our first episode of the Wildernesses at Lake Clark, Alaska.
Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, leave a comment below, and also subscribe to our page.
We look forward to having you join us on this journey of what it's like living in the bush of Alaska.